What decision is now calling you? New moon in Gemini on the 15th of June. Maybe some information keeps returning. Have you found that conversations are circling back? Well, now we're reaching the time to make a decision and not look back so that you can move forward. Perhaps a question has been arriving in many different forms, or a topic keeps finding its way into your reading or your research. Perhaps it's an idea that you thought you'd finished with and left behind, only to discover it waiting for you again a few days later, still asking for resolution. There are many different ways that this time could be showing up, but it's always this communication, this curiosity, information, decisions, and it's asking you to find this resolution. So this new moon is arriving at 24 degrees on the 15th of June, and it's occurring in the final decan of the sign of Gemini. The decans are the storytellers and the timekeepers of the zodiac. They divide each sun sign, so for example Gemini, into 3 segments of 10 degrees each. And each explores a different way that the sign, in this case Gemini, may show up. You may have noticed that you know 3 Gemini people, but they all express their Gemini qualities in a subtly different way. And this explains why. By this point in Gemini season, which is the transit of the sun through Gemini, much has already been observed, discussed, and explored. We've been gathering this information and many possibilities kind of multiplied, and maybe you've been tiptoeing into rabbit holes as well. Perhaps threads have been followed down unexpected or surprising paths. Now in this last decan, we see something beginning to shift. This is still curious Gemini. Questions and answers are still important. This part of Gemini carries this different atmosphere from the lively exchange of the earlier decans. Things have got real now. And here we begin to notice and apply the patterns that we've been gathering. Some possibilities might be gathering momentum, while others are quietly losing their appeal for you. Maybe you're familiar with the saying, which I won't repeat, but how long are you going to stay on this pot? This new moon is our first with Uranus in Gemini, so perhaps it's a time to prepare for some unexpected twists or surprises in the story. Uranus has a cycle of over 80 years, so unless you're over 80, this is a new experience. In the sign of stories, learning, language and connection, Uranus is bringing a long period of change. We are likely to see new ways of thinking emerging, both individually in the area of our chart where Gemini lands, perhaps new conversations, understandings, freedoms or insights are taking place. And you may also notice it where Mercury sits in your chart. This new moon may be the initiation of the possibilities that are appearing on the horizon. Yet this lunation seems less interested in every possibility than in recognizing which one belongs individually just to you. Think of that butterfly emerging from its chrysalis and how it can never return to being a caterpillar. And this is the change that's awaiting you. For an overview of this video, let's have a look at some journal prompts that may help you at this time. A simple ritual you might want to adapt or try out, how I can help you. Let's look at Gemini, mutable, yang, air, and what that means, and the nature of a new moon. I'll take you through the Gemini moon family, as well as the decan of Gemini 3, which Austin Coppock calls the executioner's blade, which is quite a grim image. The Wild Way Oracle calls it time to decide. We'll also look at the corresponding tarot, the Ten of Swords, and the verse from T. Susan Chang, before we explore the astrological conversation going on in the sky. And then finally, I'll draw it all together. So how can I help you? Astrology offers us a way of recognizing the cycles that are already unfolding beneath the surface of your life. They're happening, whether you consult astrology or not. And also whether you believe it or not. Astrology simply offers us a language to understand the events that we observe and to connect them and see the longer threads that we're observing. You personally may be standing at a crossroads or navigating a significant decision. You might be curious about the longer story that's emerging through current events. I can offer a natal consultation or a moon family reading, astro coaching sessions from celestiaastrology.com. They can all help illuminate the patterns at work and the timing surrounding them. And we also do this work collectively in Celestia Circle. You just need to upgrade your subset membership. And also we've got the newly launched Ask membership as well. If you're uncertain and your subscriptions are mounting up, because we appreciate that sometimes you can't subscribe to everyone, there's a limit to how much. We are a collective of 5 astrologers. And by subscribing to Asterosphere Kairos, you will get access to not only Celestia Circle, but also the Decan walk that Krista of Practical Astros is producing, and an invitation to the live recording. So a sneak peek at the look ahead of the monthly forecast. And there's many other goodies. So I'll put a link. We have some other surprises coming up that we'll include. Workshops will be either at a discount or free to subscribers. So there's a lot of goodness wrapped into just that one subscription, and some general prompts that may help you. What information keeps returning to you? Are you beginning to recognize a pattern? What possibility feels increasingly alive? Truth, have you been gathering evidence for? Can you identify what choice is slowly taking shape beneath the surface? What does that choice offer you? Simple ritual, and feel free to adapt it and to make it yours. So I suggest taking a notebook and drawing in a simple crossroads, but let the roads going out from that crossroads be long. And then think about, where do you stand? Are you approaching the crossroads, or perhaps standing still in thought directly at the crossroads? Maybe add yourself into the drawing. And on one side, write down all the possibilities that are currently calling for your attention. On another road or path, write down the possibilities that are beginning to lose their energy, and see if you can identify why as you do so. And then look ahead down those long roads and consider where you'd like to be at the Gemini full moon that's in 6 months' time. Can you mark that full moon along one of the roads that you choose and identify what's going to be needed to get there? Then think about as well where you would like to be in 9 months and 18 months, a bit of a longer time, but further on down that road for the moon family pivot points. So that road just keeps going. And these are the first quarter and full moons in the moon family. Can you also draw these in and mark your desired achievements, your hopes and dreams along that road? There's no need to force any answer. Sometimes just drawing the road and sitting with what emerges can help. And sometimes the future you is clearer than the present you with all your current restraints and worries. Just notice what feels alive and shiny for you right now, and you can always add to it as you reach more understanding. At a time of a new moon, things can be a little bit hidden and obscured from us. So just keep noticing and writing down what continues to return and to call to you. Notice which path is calling for your attention, drawing your eye, or perhaps asking you for more details. Maybe you need to add something more, and then you can leave it and return to it 7 days after the new moon, as the moon then is waxing and becoming visible in the sky. Notice what has grown or changed for you since you first did the ritual, and include that. Add it. You can always add and you can always subtract. This is your ritual. And I hope that that will bring clarity as the moon waxes in light over the coming lunar month. Allow yourself to stay curious about where life seems to be gently guiding your focus. Let's turn to Gemini. It's mutable, yang, air. Gemini is the curious, puzzle-loving, playful explorer of words and letters of the zodiac. It is a yang, or masculine, mutable, flexible and adaptable air sign. It's ruled by Mercury, the messenger planet of communication, intellect and adaptability. Yang energy in astrology emphasizes external expression, action, and engagement with the world. Mutable signs arrive as the season begins to change. They help us adapt, adjust, and respond quickly to what life presents when things are changing. In traditional astrology, we call them double-bodied, which always made more sense to me, highlighting their ability to be two things at once, or to shift effortlessly between them. Gemini, after all, is the constellation of the fixed stars, Castor and Pollux, the half-brothers that are forever known as the dueling twins, who now share immortality, even though one was divine and the other mortal. As we have been in Gemini season, the sun has been in Gemini since the 21st of May, you may have found that Gemini's mutable quality has brought you more flexibility, curiosity, and an invitation to juggle multiple ideas or tasks. Its air element fuels thought, dialogue, and connection, making this a great time for us to share ideas and to clarify intentions. This new moon carries this twin messenger mercurial energy, which will amplify the themes of intellect, how we process information, communication, and decision-making. The mutable air energy invites us to embrace mental flexibility and explore new perspectives. And as I mentioned before, this is also the first Gemini lunation, which is co-present with Uranus in Gemini. Uranus takes about 84 years to transit the zodiac. So for many of us, this will be a new experience and may also offer an insight into what the next 7 years of the Uranus transit will hold. Uranus, known as the Awakener, can disrupt, but can also bring new insights, freedom, and independence. In Gemini, we can expect to see this change the ways we communicate with each other, just as the telegraph did when Uranus was in Gemini between 1850 and 1866, and then radio and TV when Uranus was in Gemini between 1941 to 1949 have changed our communications and our interactions in the past. For an exploration of Uranus through the Decans during this Gemini transit, you can catch my earlier video, A Guide to Uranus in Gemini. There is a more serious tone when we reach the third decan of Gemini, ruled by Saturn and the Sun, which tempers this lightheartedness. Here it's time to face consequences and make choices based on the information that we've gathered. The focus sharpens to this do or die decision, where logic and necessity prevail. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini and thus this lunation, has entered the shadow of its upcoming retrograde. It will station retrograde on the 29th of June at 26 degrees of Cancer until it returns to 16 degrees of Cancer on the 23rd of July. We might expect setbacks, delays, and reroutes of the themes which may come up during this new moon, and we may not experience easy progress on these matters until August, when Mercury re-emerges from the shadow. The new moon begins a fresh lunar cycle as the Sun and Moon meet in the same sign. At first, much of the process remains internal, as the dark sky invites us to go within. The light of the moon is unseen, overshadowed by its proximity to the Sun. Ancient astrologers associated this darkness with beginnings. Something enters and germinates beneath the soil before there is any visible evidence of growth. The seed is planted long before the first green shoot appears above the surface. Perhaps a feeling or an insight can form, ready for seeding, long before any external changes emerge. You might find your attention shifts. I recommend just noticing what options are presenting, which doors are opening, as well as doors closing for you now. Is a path opening up for you, or are previous blocks being removed? This is all useful information to fertilize and water the earth your new seedling finds itself in. Which opening paths feel appealing and are aligned? You're not obliged to walk down every path opening up before you. Allow something to gently begin germinating and taking root beneath the surface of your life. In Gemini, this new growth may be fast or dual-natured somehow, seeking connection and problem-solving. There is wisdom here in slowing down enough to listen and tune into what your life and the information channels around you are asking for. We can observe multiple lunar cycles at once. This Gemini moon is the beginning of a 28-day lunar month, where the moon will move through all the lunar phases before the next new moon in Cancer next month. We can also track the 6-month cycle between a new moon and a full moon in the same sign, when what is initiated now comes to fruition and is illuminated in a 12-monthly cycle. The full moon may land in a different decan of the sign. For example, the Gemini full moon on the 24th of November 2026 is in the decan of Gemini 1. This means it will have different themes, as well as being likely to activate different individual placements and angles for personal tracking. Astrologer Dietrich Pessin in Lunar Shadows 3 introduced us to this even longer cycle of exactly 27 months, tracking the moon's progression as it returns to the same address over repeating 9-month intervals, from new to quarter, full and closing phases relative to the Sun. This technique sees the repeating activation of this same address in your natal chart over this longer time period, and it also repeats the same decan storylines too. So I hope you see why this is getting more personal. The new moon marks a seeding point in this Gemini lunar family, offering a pull to plant new seeds in the area of your life that Gemini falls in your chart, and a hidden thread that weaves a narrative story arc that begins now. So here now you can see the Gemini moon family. We've got the new moon just coming up now on the 15th of June 2026 at 24 degrees of Gemini. And that'll be followed by the first quarter moon on the 15th of March 2027 at 24 degrees of Gemini. So it's returning to that same address. Then there'll be a full moon on the 24th of November 2027 at 21 degrees. And then there'll be a last quarter moon on the 13th of August 2028 at 21 degrees of Gemini. So putting these all together like that, you can see that this is this longer storyline that takes us up to the autumn or the fall of 2028. And it's something that's beginning around this time that you can build and grow with over that period. So these moon families are tracking this evolving, progressive relationship between the Sun and the moon. Over time, they reveal the deeper developmental themes moving beneath everyday events. How they manifest may depend on how they activate your natal placements, where the ruler of your lunation is placed, where your Mercury is, and whether the new moon falls in an angular, succeedant, or cadent house. And you can learn more about how to read and track these for yourself in my upcoming workshop, which will be all about working with these for yourself. It's going to be free for paid subscribers, and the early bird price will apply throughout the summer. It's not going to be until November, so I won't be promoting it heavily. We've got an eclipses workshop coming from Ask before that, but do by all means sign up to the early bird pricing. So this Gemini cycle is feeling closely connected to these themes, including pattern recognition, the vigilance of noticing, observation, knowledge gathering, and the consequences of that awareness, making it a time for decisions with discernment, insight, and perspective shifts. If you have placements between 18 to 26 degrees of the mutable or double-bodied signs, that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, or also the other air signs, which is Libra and Aquarius, you're likely to feel this more directly. It's going to be impacting your chart personally. Also, if your perfected Lord of the Year or solar return chart ruler is Mercury. If you're not sure if this moon family is activated for you, an astrologer or astro coach can help. I also offer moon family readings if you prefer that I do the work for you. I'll explore what moon families are activated and important for you depending on a theme that you choose, something that you're currently working with. I'll look at what moon families are speaking to that. And we can also identify some future moon families coming up that you can choose to work with consciously. And we also do this similar type of work in the Celestia circle in community. So we'll look ahead at the moon families coming up in the month, and members are encouraged to share their stories and identify the threads that are coming up for them, so that helps everybody to identify how this is working. So now we come to this decan that I've spoken of. Do or die, the executioner's blade, decisive action, time to decide. This final decan is asking us to confront these crossroads of possibility that are open for us. It's ruled by Saturn and the Sun, and it's taking Gemini's mutable mental energy and it's grounding it into this stark reality of it's no longer playtime. Astrologer Kira Reiberg describes this decan as decisive, and astrologer Austin Coppock more darkly names this decan the executioner's blade, speaking to the necessity of decisive action and to the sacrifices required to move forward from here, as well as the finality of the decisions that are made in this place. So make your decisions well. In 36 Faces, Austin Coppock concludes, this decan teaches of life or death decisions, asking those who walk this face to bear their weight. Martial power and excellence in judgment result in those who can. Yet this face also teaches levity, the dual revelation of life as commedia, tragedia. For the wise, laugh even as the executioner's blade descends. Earlier in Gemini season, there is room to explore every option. Questions may lead to more questions, just like Alice in Wonderland. Curiosity leads the way. Yet eventually life asks us to bring all of that observation together and recognize what it is showing us. When we make any choice, we are saying no to the other options. Sometimes even not making a choice is a decision, which can also close off the other possibilities. This card comes from the Wild Way Oracle, which you can find at thewildway.com by Nicola Allen. And the image shows this Gemini 3 butterfly. The colourful butterfly with its red wings and white spots hovers over some thistles as if deciding where to settle. Once a butterfly emerges from its chrysalis, it prepares to take flight. Butterflies undergo this intense time of irreversible transformation. The butterfly may carry all of the memories of the caterpillar, but it still cannot return to its former state. There may be many flowers in the meadow, which it now enjoys from its new vantage point. There are many potential places to land, and yet it can only choose one at a time. This card speaks to us of discernment and sacrifice, commitment, and the necessity of choice, laying out those choices along each path. What matters is recognizing which path continues to carry life, energy, and meaning just for you. Caption reminds us that it's time to decide when we reach here. We're given the keywords do or die, sacrifice, and necessity of choice. We see the butterfly, a symbol of transformation, making the choices of where to land, and the guidebook offers further guidance. It says, it is now time to decide which possibilities to make real and how to discard those that are no longer viable. The judgment required may be difficult, but it is necessary to move forward and to thrive. Kira Reiberg writes further on the bound that this new moon falls in, which is ruled by Saturn. This also means that planets or lots placed in this part of the zodiac are going to behave in a much more stern and serious manner than we usually expect of Geminis. It's the goth Gemini, trademark, which is currently contentious in the astrological community. So Kira Ryback coined it first. But it also gives someone access to the gifts that Saturn and Mercury bestow when they're at their most influential. So can you unlock the Goth Gemini in you? And here we have the tarot correspondence, the Ten of Swords. This is a card that symbolizes endings and transitions that may feel heavy or even painful. This decan and perhaps the new moon reminds us that necessary endings pave the way for new beginnings. The image shows a figure lying face down beneath a dark sky while the first light of dawn appears on the horizon. There are 10 swords piercing into the figure's back. However, we do not see blood. There is a red covering over the figure, and his hand seems to form a signal. This implies that the figure is signaling that all is okay. The wounds or sacrifice is necessary or metaphorical. Light is beginning to break through. This card often emerges when a way of thinking has reached its conclusion. It is the thought pattern that's ending or needs to die, and a new clarity or light is about to emerge. The Ten of Swords vividly reflects the themes of endings and transformation. The card symbolizes a moment of finality, surrender, and profound release. While it may appear grim, this card ultimately represents the clearing out of the old cycles and the painful but necessary end of a chapter. In the context of this new moon, the Ten of Swords reminds us that this letting go, however challenging, often paves the way for the renewal. Just as Gemini 3 demands a decision, the Ten of Swords calls for acceptance of what is no longer viable. And T. Susan Chang has penned this verse in Dreaming the Decans, which embodies some of these themes that we've discussed here. Decision tree. The path is stark. The sword of choice cleaves light from dark. Logic sees in black and white, while story calls forth day from night. The furies and fates are blind. Protect me, twin gods of the mind. One choice, embrace. One choice, occlude. Surrender to rise up renewed. The twin has died. Long live the twin. All things that end also begin. To rise anew, we must let go of one version of ourselves and fully commit to another. This verse acknowledges how difficult but necessary this is. As we prepare to leave Gemini 3 and enter a new season with Cancer, reaching the turning of the wheel, we can no longer embody the archetype of the twin. So which twin will you choose? The choices we make now hold the power to shape our future. So here's the astrology in the sky, and we see that the sun and moon are meeting in Gemini at 24 degrees. This is the sign, as we've said, that is naturally curious, observant, and interested in making connections. You may find that Gemini season often coincides with a period when life becomes very busy, with conversations, learning, paperwork, writing, planning, research, networking, or just socializing and simply trying to understand what is happening around us and noticing more. This Gemini moon, maybe there is a feeling like a pattern is just emerging, but you can't name it yet. It is still hovering on those peripheral edges, but coming into focus. You've been gathering all the information together, but you haven't yet known where to place it, just as decision time approaches. The ruler of this lunation, Mercury, tells us more about this nuanced story. Mercury is traveling through Cancer, creating a pleasant neutral reception which helps alleviate the lack of direct sight and support for Gemini from its ruler. With the moon in Gemini and Mercury in Cancer, there is this natural exchange taking place between thoughts and feelings. Logic could now be informing emotions, while emotions inform logic. Together, they're collaborating to achieve shared outcomes. Mercury is now traveling through the degrees where it will later return while retrograde. Astrologers call this the shadow phase, moving towards its station at 26 degrees of Cancer. You may have experienced some slowing, setbacks, or delays with material themes, or a sense that you need to return to things that you start now. The final decan of Gemini is associated with this decision-making, yet it is decision-making based on the information that you've already gathered and this curious observation. This is often the stage where enough information has been gathered. If your chart is activated by this lunation, you can see those who are most affected by the moon family to check if you're not sure. You may find yourself becoming increasingly aware of a choice that needs to be made. There could be no going back once you move forward on this path, just as the butterfly cannot return to becoming a caterpillar. Mercury's upcoming retrograde suggests that the best approach is simply remaining attentive to new information as it arrives and integrating it with what you already know to be true and to be aligned with you. You may notice yourself reflecting more deeply on conversations than usual. Certain comments may linger and touch sensitive parts of you that were unexpected. There is potential for healing conversations linked to the past. Memories, emotions, new understandings, and practical considerations can become woven together as you try to understand what something means for you personally and are led to the moment of decision. The new moon is applying by sextile to Chiron in Aries, creating an opportunity for insight, linking Gemini's search for understanding and Chiron's ongoing work around identity, confidence, and self-definition as Chiron is completing its journey through Aries. The invitation here is to notice what you are learning about yourself through the choices currently taking shape. Will you notice what is showing up and do that work? Uranus has also recently entered Gemini, beginning a much longer story around how we think, learn, and connect and communicate. While those larger changes will unfold across many years, this new moon may offer a first early glimpse of where new possibilities are emerging for you personally. It may be that unexpected conversations or surprising insights, new interests, calls to freedom, breakthroughs, or shifts in perspective can all act as catalysts. Anything that's catching your attention now may prove more important than it first appears, however small. This is one reason I encourage people to pay close attention to new moon periods, particularly when they activate an important moon family cycle. Looking back, the first signs are often visible from the very beginning. It's just we don't know yet which threads will actually become the story. For now, just notice what keeps returning. Notice what you're being asked to learn. Notice which doors are opening and which are closing. Notice the synchronicities showing up in your life and notice which possibilities are continuing to gather energy. All the noticing. Elsewhere in the sky, Venus in Leo is moving towards an opposition with Pluto in Aquarius. This aspect may bring questions of value, desire, power dynamics in relationships, and authenticity into a sharper focus. Relationships can become mirrors, revealing and reflecting what matters most to us. Sometimes we may mask our individual desires to create or to maintain harmony, but this may be the time the mask fades and desire enters the conversation. It might be creative projects, friendships, communities, and romantic connections. They might all be revealing underlying dynamics that were previously remaining hidden. The time of Venus-Pluto contacts may be experienced as moments of increased intensity, especially if Venus is significant in your chart or is activated now, for example, as your perfection lord of the year or is angular in your solar return. You may find your feelings deepening and no longer being able to take second place. Desires may become clearer, defined, and asked to be recognized. We might notice where our energy is invested and where it is no longer flowing naturally. There may be tension in this process, as is the nature of oppositions and contact with the shadow planet Pluto. The coming weeks may feel less like finding answers and more like recognizing which questions truly matter to you. Do keep noticing as the story unfolds and stay ready to make that decision when the time calls to you. And finally, this final decan of Gemini asks us to trust the wisdom that emerges through our observation. Information gathering is never simply that. Why do you gather? What are you attracted to? We are invited to recognize our personal recurring patterns, to gather those gossamer threads that we can barely see, and to notice where life is already trying to guide our attention. The Gemini new moon is asking for noticing, surrender, and a decision. It's an interesting mix of information gathering, support, healing wounds, backward glances, and navigating power dynamics as we prepare for a decision we may have avoided until now. Once you decide, you can step boldly into the next chapter and trust the process of transformation. Allow your butterfly to fly, finding the richest, most colorful meadows. I'm so excited for you. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to like, subscribe, and please comment sharing how this is showing up for you, what decisions you might be called to, or what information you're noticing, what synchronicities are showing up. I'd love to hear your stories. And do check out the Moon Family Workshop. The early bird discount is available now, and it is only £15 if you sign up now. So enjoy this time and travel well, friends. Thank you for joining me.